This episode is brought to you by thedolphinwars.com.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to King Dolphin TV, episode 312. I am Raymond. I am the author of the King Dolphin, or the Dolphin Wars book trilogy, and ruler of the greatest pod in YouTube. Tonight is our Wednesday interviews, and we have part 2 of our aircraft maintenance series. Our guest tonight is Eric Judy. He's an accomplished airframe and powerplant mechanic. He has inspection authorization. He's also a maintenance instructor and a maintenance examiner. And we'll go into more of that as we start the conversation. And finally, he is a pilot with extensive aviation experience to share. So before we get started, if you love these interviews, reviews, and all the fun we have here on King Dolphin TV, please like and subscribe. Also, if you know anyone I should interview, please send me their name so I can reach out to them. Also, if you want to help out the channel, soon the tip link will be up on top of the chat. Please consider putting some ducats in the buckets to help keep this channel going. So, without further ado, let me welcome Mr. Eric Judy. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well, Raymond. How are you?
I am doing wonderful, and I've been looking forward to this since we talked about it earlier on. And also, I will say that Eric and I have been friends for quite some time, quite a few years. So
yeah, probably 15, I'd say, at least.
Yeah, 15 at least. So yes, we've been friends for over 15 years. So let us first welcome the chat. We have something. Okay. All right. We have our lifeguards. We don't have any guest chatters yet, but we've got our amazing lifeguard crew here. Starting out with our producer, Sandra Feliciano. This is a Sandra Feliciano presentation. Love you, honey. We have the first one in, the last one out. Legatus Leach and I. And I'm sure he's got his questions ready to go. We have FKHC 2005. We have John Rendell, Fez Forever. And we have Snortopoopas Cuber. Welcome one, welcome all to the chat here. This is definitely going to be interesting here. So as for the uninitiated, and what we do, we're going to ask questions first off to break the ice. And then after that, we will open the questions out to the chat. So have them ready for when I open the chat up to you guys. Okay. So, Eric, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I sure can. I'm a aviation professional. I've been in the business for probably just around 30 years. I was a flyer before I was a mechanic. Did some various different things. Flying airplanes have right around 6,800 hours total flight time.
Mhm.
Um, been a flight mechanic for several Fortune 500 companies. And like Raymond said, I taught A&P school for a little while. While I was there, I was a maintenance examiner. I'm no longer a maintenance examiner. And I work for a regional airline now in the quality assurance department.
Okay. Um, how long how long were you a pilot before you decided to get your A&P? And what are your ratings as a pilot?
Well, I had known about being an A&P for uh, a long time. I grew up in a family of flyers. I'm the first one to ever do it professionally in my family. However, I have always been around airplanes. I don't ever remember a time that I didn't see an airplane somewhere. It was not unusual to go to my uncle's home, now my parents' home, and there's an airplane in the backyard because they have a landing strip. Uh,
Ooh,
I hold a commercial pilot certificate, multi-engine instrument, seaplane. I do have a unique sign-off. I have high performance tail wheel, which is was obtained in a AT6, which was pretty neat to do, and um, that's about that's about it. I um, hold a second in command type rating in a Gulfstream 550, and that was just gotten because I wanted to take. They offer a course, Gulfstream does, to land the airplane, and the boss said, "Well, why don't you just take the course so you can be second in command?" So I took the course. I never acted in that capacity, though.
okay. Okay. Now, so family of aviators, pretty much you you love the smell of airplane fuel in the morning, to coin a term, but going from flying to the A&P, how long were you? How long were you a pilot before you decided to get the A&P?
I was probably flying for about 4.5, 5 years before I decided to get my A&P. We were broke down several times through my travels, and it would have been real handy back in the day to have, as people like to say. But you know, we're here, and it's been a very rewarding career so far for myself. So
Okay. And okay. And when and how did you start working on the A&P?
well, technically, I started probably about 1997 working on it. When I was a senior in high school, I started working at the airport a little bit. I already had a pilot certificate at that time, um, but I started working at the airport and working around the guys in the shop and what they do. And then I went to Fairmont State College. It's Fairmont State University now, but when I went, it was Fairmont State College through their A&P program, A&P school. And I do have the 4-year degree in aviation maintenance management, is what it's called. And one of the, I guess you'd say, prerequisites for graduation was to receive the A&P certificate. So
Right.
I've had that. And like you said in the introduction, I do hold my inspection authorization. So I do annual inspections and different things like that.
Okay, and now we will. This one is probably these two are going to be. Yeah. What? Okay. What does each certification mean?
A&P stands for Airframe and Powerplant. Airframe, they're pretty self-explanatory, but airframe is, of course, the airframe of the airplane where you get in, passengers sit down, the flyers get up front and do whatever they do. And of course, the power plant is how it goes through the air, whether it be a reciprocating engine, a jet engine, a burner on a balloon. It can be anything that gives it propulsion. Unless it's a glider, then they don't have an engine. So, and you know, 100 years ago, they called it an A and E license, aircraft and engine. But if you only hold one rating of airframe and or power plant, that's the only thing you can work on is airframes or power plants. So if you worked at an engine overhaul facility, for example, you would only need your airframe, or I'm sorry, your power plant.
Okay. And what was the reason they decided to change it to power plant? Is it because of the various type of engines as everything evolved?
That is a great question, and I really do not know the answer to it. I've never researched it, and I don't know why.
Okay. All right. So when you say airframe, that's not just the body of the airplane. That would be the actual instruments and
the instruments, the wings, the tail, the cowling, things like that. There's a lot of if you really want to get down in the weeds and start talking about stuff, there's a lot of things that you might think are power plant, but they're actually airframe. An example is the air filter on a lot of reciprocating engines. They have an air filter, and that is an airframe part, not an engine part. So there's a lot of different things that can really, if you don't pay attention to what you're doing, or maybe you just, I have no idea. I don't want to say don't care because that's terrible, but yeah. So you can get yourself in some trouble if you're not watching what you're doing, I guess we could say.
Okay. And you have the additional. It is also a rating, or is it just like an authorized?
No, it's not considered a rating. It's an addition to the certificate. The inspection authorization allows me to perform annual inspections, which is on most Part 91, which is general aviation airplanes. It's required every year on the airplane, and the inspection authorization gives me the authorization to perform those inspections, which every airplane that, small aircraft that's flying needs to have. Of course, you can, like I said, get down in the weeds and talk about all sorts of other stuff. But with the IA, you can do the annual inspections. You can do the major repairs or alterations. So if you wanted to, I have no idea, you wanted to let's just say you want to put a bigger engine in your airplane. Well, we can do that. And that is one of the things that, with the proper data and everything, I can sign off and say, you're good to go. You're not going to hurt yourself.
Okay. Now, does a A&P, can they do the maintenance on whatever part of the aircraft, and do they sign off on it, or do you have to sign off on the work they've done?
If they have a A&P certificate and we are doing just regular general, maintenance and upkeep and stuff like that, they can sign, and I encourage them to sign their own work. However, if it's an annual, I sign the work because they don't have the authorization to do it.
Okay. And now for certain aircraft for hire, you have the additional 100-hour inspection. you still have to sign off on that as well.
No. The only difference between an annual and a 100-hour is the person that can sign it off. A regular A&P can sign off a 100-hour, but he cannot sign off an annual.
Okay.
Now, within certain groups and certain flight schools, and a flight school that I help out, we sign every 100-hour as an annual, so the airplane never really runs out of annual. So, and it's kind of a smart thing to do. Some people don't like to do it. You have to do 4 annuals a year for the FAA to keep your certification, and that's not it's 1 a quarter basically. I do a lot more than that, but there are some people that well, I'm going to do a 100-hour, and then next week we're going to have to do an annual, and I think that's just bad business in my opinion.
Okay. Let's see. Yeah, we've talked about that. Now, you've done maintenance. Now, you don't just limit yourself with general aviation. Have you done work for like charters or commercial?
I do work now. I work for a regional airline, major regional airline, and we do. I don't actually do any of the maintenance on it. I kind of oversee it. However, I was in the corporate aviation world and have done a lot of work on a lot of different types of aircraft. And I've never worked on anything that would be considered heavy, like a Boeing 757, 67, 747, things like that. I've never worked on anything that large.
But you've done jet. You've done work on.
Oh yes. Yep, jets, turboprops.
Helicopters.
Not so much. My uncle had a helicopter for a while that I worked on, but helicopters are kind of. It doesn't require any special certifications or anything, but it's kind of a specialty thing that people get into, really. And I never really got into them very much. I don't have anything against them, but I just have never got into them. So,
okay. Now, looking into your background, I see you've also instructed, and you're also a maintenance examiner. What is the difference between, say a maintenance examiner and a pilot examiner?
Well, when I was a maintenance examiner, the only difference was that one issues a pilot certificate and one issues a mechanic certificate. However, in the pilot realm, there's a lot of different things that you have to get certified to do. Mm-hmm. And I was certified to do airframe and powerplant. Now, there is some other certificate. You can be a parachute rigger and be a rigger examiner. I never had the opportunity to get into it. I find it interesting. I don't have any desire to jump out of an airplane, but I do find the parachute and stuff like that interesting. So that's one thing that I could have been an examiner for. But I've only been, it was only airframe and powerplant. It wasn't anything else.
Okay. And, okay. So how extensive is the examination that you're giving, say, like for a power plant?
Well, it starts out with an oral section, which it's been a while since I've done one. But it starts out, I think there's 9 sections that you go through. For example, you would want to get your power plant. You would do all your schooling, get your experience, pass your written exam, then you come to me for your oral and practical is what they call it, O&Ps.
Okay.
And you would come for that. Your oral is, I sit there and ask you a series of 7 questions throughout these different sections, and you need to get 5 of those right. And if you don't, well, we probably have to stop. And then we move on to your projects, and there are, I don't want to say the wrong number, but there's over 100 different types of projects that you can be selected. But I would get your unique FAA number, FTN number is what it's called. I would get that from the FAA. I would put in, Raymond, get your details, put it all in the computer system, and it would spit me out a test. So I didn't pick the questions. I didn't pick the projects. I didn't pick any of that stuff. And then it came through, and I used a little iPad and went through and did all that stuff. And it can take anywhere from 4 hours to 6 hours to 8 hours, to just depending on, just depending on how much you struggle. And you can stop the exam at any time. I can stop the exam at any time. And it's, that's probably one of the most rewarding things, is to watch somebody work so hard and actually get it. That's very, very rewarding.
During the exam, are they actually working on an airplane or a simulated scenario?
It's real airplane parts, and some people use airplanes. However, there's a lot of different things. I've used mock-ups before that were like just like a teaching aid. There's like a teaching aid I've used, different things like that.
Okay.
So the airplanes, to be clear, the airplanes that you work on when you're taking your test on don't fly.
Okay. So they're hangar queens.
Most of them.
Okay.
Some of them don't even qualify as that. Some of them are pretty rough.
Been torn up by a lot of students for a lot of years.
Oh yeah.
Okay. You've done maintenance work for many companies. What did you find the most rewarding?
The most rewarding is when, the airplane breaks. I always said them guys up front broke something. And, but to get it fixed and get back on the road to, get home, get to your next destination or whatever, was always very rewarding. I always felt that it was, that is the, that's what you want to do. Obviously it's your job, but you want to also get home, and you want to do it as efficiently and as safely as possible. I should say safely and efficiently as possible, but
right,
because that's always, paramount to me is safety. I tell everybody that I work on the airplane. I work on the airplane like I'm going to put my family in it, and we're going to take off in some pretty nasty weather and go. And so that's how I approach everything, every inspection, everything.
Okay. All right. Now you've got an amazing aviation career. What is one of the adventures that you've done at either flying or working as an A&P or both?
Well, when I was a flight mechanic, I traveled with the airplane. So they both kind of went hand in hand. One of the things is we took a tour of Europe, Russia, and everything, Ukraine and all that stuff in the winter to deal the products that the company that I worked for dealt. And it was just unique to go to, St. Petersburg, Moscow, Kiev, Leningrad, all that and actually see what you know, read about. And we went to out to Chernobyl, which was pretty neat. Um, and then, I can tell you about some times that were terrible. Standing on the ramp in Anchorage, Alaska, 2 in the morning, it's 22 below zero, and the wind's blowing about 40, and it's about
Oh,
50 below with the wind chill, and you're standing out there trying to get the APU to run, so the engines will start so you can go home. So
mm,
there's always there's always trade-offs.
yeah.
And
All right.
sometimes you would have a wonderful trip where you wouldn't do anything to the airplane except pre-flight, post-flight when you were, before you left, and then when you got to where you were going. And then sometimes you were working on it every chance you had because there
Mm,
was something going wrong with it. But I was always very fortunate to have good owners, good support, and good airplanes to work on that. And we only had one. No, we had two that left us sitting. That was it.
okay. Yeah, I remember one time I was a flight attendant doing charters out of Cleveland, and the most depressing thing I saw is when our crew got into the airplane and we saw the back door being worked on by maintenance because the seal wasn't. That was because the seal was not work. Bust needed to be replaced. That was not a good day.
No,
We sat for a while.
I'm not going to tell you how I fixed some stuff in the field because I'll incriminate myself. But it worked, and I'm here, and I'm alive.
Okay. Yep. All right. Now, the last question before I open it up to the chat is what recommendations would you like to tell new maintenance, new A&P students, or pilots? What recommendations would you
Turn around and run.
make?
Uh, I say that to everybody. No, get as much experience as you can. Always, always, always seize the opportunity to learn something. If someone offers to show you something, if someone offers you, hey, I'm going to go work on this airplane, go with them, get experience, never quit learning. I try and learn something every time I work on an airplane. Um, that doesn't always happen, but just, and always be humble, be thankful for what you're doing because not a lot of people get to do it. And it's a small, small community. And if you get out there and people figure out that you're not humble or you might not be the nicest person in the world or something like that, that gets around and people know that. So that's also something that you have to be aware of. Everybody gets frustrated. I've gotten frustrated. I've thrown stuff. I've done things that I don't even want to talk about. But, but you just have to remember what you're doing, focus. If you can't figure something out, take a break, walk away, go do something else, and then come back. So I've done that several times. I'm helping a young man now get his A&P. He's 15. He's wanting to get started doing it, and it's really kind of invigorated me more into teaching more and I guess maybe doing a better job of explaining what I'm doing. Because of course, we have the manuals out and all that stuff. It can be extremely, extremely rewarding.
How young can you be? How young can you be?
What I mean, to start, you can start. I mean, shoot, I guess my daughter could start now. She's 2, but to get a license, you have to be 18
Okay.
to obtain the airframe and power plant. You have to be 18.
Okay. Okay. All right. So now we will start opening it up to the chat.
Before we do that,
Yes, sir.
I want to say one more thing that I forgot.
Sure.
If anybody watching this is an A&P school, and it gets tough, it gets rough. I've been there. I've taught it. I know how it is. Don't quit. I helped a uh, I helped a kid go through A&P school. He was told by an instructor that he would never obtain his A&P. He has his
Mm,
A&P. He is now a crew lead. I'm sorry, he's a shift lead um, at a major operator in the Midwest and is doing very, very, very well for himself. So don't quit. There's always somebody out there that'll help you. You just have to know where to find it. But don't, nah, this isn't for me. I don't want to do this. I know the hours, you have to have the contact hours and all that stuff, but it is worth it.
okay. All right. Let's see. Oh, Max. I will warn you, we have some humorous questions. Could Eric from Max Redstone, could Eric fit jet assistance takeoff to a 750-gram Chinese-made drone? Asking for a friend. Max is a drone pilot, by the way.
Cool. No, because don't even have a clue what a 750-gram Chinese made drone is. I know Chinese made, but I don't know any of that. But no, I don't think I could. Sorry. I'd like to
Okay.
help you though.
All right. Let's see. Let's go down. Okay. All right. Legatus Legionine. He asks, having been a pilot, does it help that you have heard all the noises, reported issues before being trained to fix the issues? Oh, what is that bang or clank?
That's a good question. I think it helps, and if a flyer tells me what's going on with the airplane, I'm sorry, I'm old school. I call pilots flyers, okay, because that's what they are. Um,
Mhm.
but anyhow, um, having been a flyer myself, still am. Um, it does help to know that because you may have heard it before, or if they're telling you something, hey, when I'm doing this, I'm at a certain power setting, it does this, it does that, and things like that. Can tell you a story about a ferry flight one time. We were coming back in a Navajo, something which is a twin engine, 8-person airplane, and we had to ferry it gear down. Well, we were in such a mindset of always putting the gear up. We put the gear up, and we heard one of those bang. Oh, we weren't supposed to do that. So we caused an additional about $1,500 worth of damage to the airplane for the gear door that wouldn't get out of the way. But well, we're here.
Ooh. Okay. Have you done, I'm sure have you done any test flights? Are you required to do test flights on airplanes that may have a condition on, and that you have to do a test flight to see that the work was done right? Or
I am not a test pilot, Raymond, so I have never done a test flight.
okay,
However, we can rephrase that. I've done functional check flights.
that's what I meant. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I was being a little bit of a smart aleck.
Right.
But you can get in big trouble for saying things like that if you are in the wrong audience. At the end of an annual inspection, it is required to fly the airplane on a functional check flight to, just make sure everything works and things like that. A lot of maintenance that we do now at the place where I'm employed requires a functional check flight. I just went on one on, what is today? Monday. I just went on one. It's a set of parameters that they go through. We had some aileron cables disconnected and whatnot. So I've been on a number of functional check flights or a troubleshooting flight. You don't know what's going on. So yes, I've done several of those.
Okay. Now, is that something you have to do? I mean, is that something only an IA can do, or any A and P?
Well, I mean,
who's got a pilot license?
it can be anything. I don't fly customers' airplanes unless they're with me, or I usually make them fly anyhow, because it's their airplane. And then, of course, with the regional that I work for, of course, it's their flyers that fly the airplane. I don't fly it, but technically, if you had had the appropriate certifications and everything to fly the airplane, you could do it. It doesn't matter if you have an A&P, an IA, you don't have anything.
Okay.
You could do that.
Okay. Okay. Let's see. Legatus asks, so just in automotives, there are those who can repair the engine and those that can repair the body, but rarely can one now do both.
I understand what he's getting at there. And there are different things that people do that are specialties, like engine overhauls, sheet metal work. Most modern airplanes now are made from either a sheet metal construction or composite construction, and there's a lot of specialties with that. If you want to get technical about it, I could do both. I could work on the engine and the body. Am I good enough to? Probably not. But technically speaking, you could. But there are people out there that are just specialists in sheet metal, specialists in engines, specialists in avionics. So there are specialty things. However, with the license and what we are talking about, technically I can do it. I don't, but I can.
Okay. So, okay. Because my segue with this question was like black boxes, like with the G1000. All you pretty much do is pick them out and send them to the back shop, or send them back to the company if there's an issue with the G1000.
Correct. If it's an issue with, any modern avionics or anything like that, basically all I can do to a propeller on an airplane is uninstall, install, dress minor nicks, paint it, and that's about it. I can't take one apart. That has to go to a specialized shop for that. Avionics is pretty much the same way, not because of the certification, because of your warranties and things like that. They have little stickers on the back of them. If this is broken, you void the warranty and things like that. So avionics, I don't mess with. I'll do troubleshooting things, and I will, remove and install different things, but I don't do much with avionics at all. That's, again, getting back to the gentleman's question. That would be another specialty thing that someone does.
Okay. And I think this was just it's just like there's factory certified technicians for vehicles. Can you get a similar certificate when it comes working on an aircraft?
You can go to factory schools for the corporate jets I've worked on, the Globals, the Challengers, the Gulfstreams. You go to factory school, and you learn for 2.5 or 3 weeks, a month, of what the actual, what you do on that particular airplane. There's also a factory school for the regional airplanes that I'm around now that I've been to. I have taken the Lycoming, which is a piston engine manufacturer, offers a week-long course for their engines, and I have taken that as well. So yes, there are factory certified. It's not like you would probably think of like a ASE, or I think that's ASE. I'm not sure, but it's not. I mean, you can't hang out on your shingle, factory certified. But there are things to do that. We work on this, or this.
Okay. Max. Serious question. How do eclairs and other pastries affect aerodynamic lifts and general airworthiness? I'd say the more you eat, the more you.
Well, Max, when I was first starting out, I was about 110 pounds, soaking wet, and now I'm not going to tell you what I am, but I'm about double that. So I don't think it affects aerodynamics and lift, but we can. I'd be willing to test that out. Because I can tell you as a flyer and a mechanic, they don't last long. They're gone pretty quick.
Airport cookies. Airport cookies.
I've eaten some good catering, Raymond. Cookies don't. Nah, sorry.
I know. Let's see. This is a good one. We hear sometimes a bird or a forgotten wrench got into an engine, damaging it. What is the most unusual thing or culprit have you discovered? Ooh. I'm sure you've seen a lot of.
I've seen a lot of things. I have 3 specific examples that are pretty neat.
Okay.
The first one was we had an APU, auxiliary power unit, which is like a small jet engine. It runs environmentals, it runs generators, so the dummies up front the pilots up front can put all their flight plans and whatnot in, and it keeps the cabin cool and all that stuff, so the flight attendant can do what they need to do. We had one overhauled. We reinstalled it in the airplane, and we started it. Auto shut down.
Ooh.
Okay. So we looked at auto shut down for no oil pressure. So we looked at it, checked again, tightened things up, started again. Same thing. Took it apart or uninstalled it, took it back out, put it on the ground, took it apart, and there was aluminum wool plugged in the inlet for the oil. So it wasn't getting oil, but it shut itself as soon as it didn't do any damage to it at all. So that one was the one where we were the most upset. We had a fairly comical thing one time we were in Australia, I do believe. And we weren't in the outback, but we were close. And when we opened up the rear access where the APU lives and oil and stuff like that, where that lives back there, the air cycle machines, which is pretty much your air conditioning, pressurization, stuff like that, they have little socks on them, and they were coated red from the dirt and the dust where they'd been running, a couple days before. So we changed those. It was a known problem to change those, so that's why we got in there to do that. And it really wasn't anything that affected anything, but I was doing a pre-flight on an airplane in Africa, and I saw possibly the biggest, they called it a toad, that I've ever seen in my life. And it was at least 9 to 10 inches across. It was huge. The biggest toad I've ever seen in my life.
Wow. Okay. Sandra asks, what is the most helpful thing a pilot can tell you when bringing an aircraft in for maintenance?
Nothing, because they'll just complain about it anyhow. If they can be descriptive of what's going on, and I don't discount anybody's opinion, but I just want a fact of what it's doing. When I turn left, it's fighting me to go back to the right. When I pull back on the power, it acts like it wants to quit. That's the things that help. The thing that doesn't help is I think the mixture's out of adjustment. I think the autopilot needs fixed. I think that doesn't help at all. So if you can just stick to the facts, as they say.
Okay. All right. And then she comes back. What is the most rewarding and frustrating aspects of being in charge of maintenance? Any stories that come to mind? Okay, so this is as a maintenance supervisor.
The most rewarding thing is to see an airplane that's torn down to basically, I mean, the frame like it was just been, uh, just been built, and that's really neat to see, to go through the process, getting it put back together. Um, and then the most frustrating is, in the same respect of doing that, of course, the world we live in now, you cannot get parts. We've been waiting for probably 4 weeks for an aileron cable. And then we ran into a rash of while of aileron cables that were frayed, not to the point that they were going to break. However, you don't want any cables frayed, and that's the most frustrating of it. The APU story I just told was fairly frustrating because uh, the company I used, I talked up to my bosses at the time, and then we had to, have the airplane down for longer. So, but the rewarding is if say the airplane's going to be down for, I don't know, 6 weeks, and you get it back in 3, that makes the boss happy. That's always very rewarding.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And of course, Sandra says, "We love you as a smart ass, Eric." Sandra.
Well, I try.
Mhm. She's giggling in the background. Now, Fed Forever's question is, what is the mechanism to feather a propeller while it's spinning? I never could figure that out.
It's a big spring that there's flyweights that have little keepers, they're basically that go in like that, and the oil pressure, you dump all of the oil out of the dome of the propeller. That relaxes the spring, which relaxes the keepers, and it switches the blade to feather. That's how it works. I had an engine quit on a Navajo one time, and it blew the number 3 cylinder departed the case. And
Ooh.
when I feathered the propeller, it looked like I was in an air show because of all the oil that came out of there, and then it went all over the exhaust and everything else. But yeah, that was pretty neat. But it's oil pressure. It's a big spring, and some propellers use accumulators with different air pressures in them. But the basic thing is oil pressure and a big spring, and I'm talking they're huge. That's why most mechanics can't take them apart, because you're going to hurt yourself.
Under a lot of tension and
Oh yeah, yep,
and big size.
yep.
Okay. Let's see. Okay. Right. Okay. When it comes to modified aircraft, such as a crop duster, how challenging does work on those systems, or is it left to those that do the customizing?
In the case of like a crop duster or something like that, I can't speak on that. I've never worked on one or anything like that. I've worked with some airplanes that did very early LiDAR detection and early camera work and things like that. And we modified the aircraft so they could have a camera. And one of them, they tied this thing was, I don't know, 6-8 inches after the tail that did something with a radio. I don't know. I didn't understand any of it, but the company actually came in and did that with like you have a corporate airplane. I'm sure you've seen pictures of them, things like that. The interiors and stuff like that, people design them. There's specialty companies that do that, and they will help you to an extent, but most of the time the technician on the floor or the technician is fixing that. I've replaced cables in seats. I've done things to seats that, so, and that all that pretty wood and everything you see is just small veneer laminate. There's nothing the whole thing isn't made of wood because it'd be too darn heavy. And yeah, so.
Okay. Now here's one I've got a question on. If the owner of an airplane wants to do work on his airplane, to what extent can he work on his airplane?
Well, if I'm there watching, he can do anything that I'm doing. Because it says supervision of a certificated airframe and powerplant mechanic. But if you owned an airplane, you wanted to change the oil, you can do that. Service the tires, obviously you can do that. Change the tires, brakes. You can do a heck of a lot to the airplane unless it starts to get really specialized work. You can do a whole lot to it. It's in the regulations of what you can and cannot do, but there's a lot that you can do.
Okay. And the regs are it's the Federal Aviation.
Yes, the Federal Aviation regulations.
Okay. Are they a separate part or are they part 91?
I don't know, Raymond. I always go with the great Albert Einstein. I never memorize things I can look up.
Good answer. All right. Let's see. Okay. Let's see. All right. Legatus asks, if and when you retire, you're never retiring. Does the hobby of vintage aircraft look appealing, or do you still need to maintain your certifications to work on them? Oh, that's a good question.
That's a nice question there. Here's where my problem lies. My hobby and my profession collide. I do airplanes all the time. I have a wonderful schedule. I work 7 days on, 7 days off. In my 7 days off, I work on little airplanes, or hopefully I get to fly a little bit too, if the weather's not terrible. So I have helped restore about 13 different airplanes from my uncle's restored several. I do know how to do dope and fabric, or like the older airplanes. I'm not that good at it because I haven't done it a lot. And to maintain your certification, they want you to be active in the prior 6 months to doing something. So I will probably always keep it active. I have set myself up so I can retire. Now, whether I do or not, I have no idea. So I hear the one that drives me every day downstairs throwing a fit about something, but
Okay.
her dog probably stole something off of her.
That sounds familiar. Let's see. Okay. Oh, that's a good question. Are control surface cables coated with oil or other substances to reduce corrosion, or are they left bare for better visual inspection?
They're left bare so you can have a better visual inspection for them. The pulleys and stuff like that get grease and oil on them, some type of lubrication, so it does rub off onto the cables. So, I mean, before you inspect them, you do clean them. Cables that run underneath, excuse me, cables that run underneath the floor and stuff like that are very dirty. So you do clean them, but you typically don't do anything with oil or anything like that to keep things from sticking, like, grease, um, Coke spills, coffee, things like that.
Okay, let's see. Are there any more questions out there? When it comes to engines or power plants, what do you enjoy working on more? Do you enjoy working on the turbos or piston?
I enjoy working on piston engines because that's what I know the most about. That's where you can really get in there and figure out things. If it's got something going on with it, you can really get in there and figure stuff out. With a turbine engine, you can still do that kind of thing, but it's not like it is with a piston engine. The piston engine will tell you a story about what's going on with it. If you listen to it, it'll tell you a story. Some turbine engines won't. And I've always said this, that 99% of the time, a piston engine isn't just going to blow up. And, I mean, there's something there that's going on. You might not know what's going on, but there's something there. And then there's certain engine manufacturers, though, their engines will run very sick for a very long time before they finally, like, I've had enough. And there's other manufacturers that they'll get sick and they won't run very long at all. So, and the same thing with a turbine engine. I mean, there's trends and things like that, but I prefer to work on piston engines. It's more fun. Like I said, they'll tell you a better story, and it's just fun. They're simple. So,
regardless, after you finish work on an aircraft, do you also include cleaning the interior, exterior, or is such deep cleaning for somebody else?
Before we do an annual inspection, the first thing on every annual inspection checklist I've ever seen says clean the aircraft. So we clean the aircraft as far as waxing or detailing the paint, or on the corp airplanes, the polished aluminum. The buzzword in the industry is bright work. That is usually somebody else, the owner or something like that. I don't wax people's airplanes or anything like that. I do take care of them like they're my own, but I don't wax them. Of course, if we're just, for example, doing an oil change, when we're done, yes, fingerprints, stuff like that get wiped off. Sometimes I'll hit the leading edges or something like that. If it's summertime, springtime, get the bugs off, stuff like that. But a deep cleaning, like a detail or something like that, is for someone else.
Okay.
You looking for a job? You looking for a job? And I don't even know how to say your name.
Legatus.
Legatus
Legion.
Looking for a job? You want to detail airplanes? Are you?
Now, in general, usual, just general aviation aircraft, how long estimated it does a 100-hour or an annual run in time frame?
Generally
In a
speaking,
perfect world.
In a perfect world, you don't run into any problems or anything like that. You can generally have it done in 4 to 5 days, depending on what kind of airplane you're in.
Okay.
So,
and of course, it's not necessarily a perfect world when you in vacation.
I've never done an annual where I haven't found anything wrong. Ever.
Okay. Right. Okay. Detailing. Is that just the striping, or do you include doing those famous pinup girls too? Oh, we wish.
I was part of a photo shoot one time with a very nice airplane with a lot of pretty girls around it. But I didn't detail the airplane. I didn't detail the girls either, so I don't know. I looked a lot, I can tell you that much.
I'm sure anybody would if they were there.
I don't know. I mean, shoot, I just had the sensitivity training. I'm sorry. I never looked. I kept my eyes closed the entire time.
Okay. Oh, the producer's giggling too.
The producer knows me too well.
That is true.
The producer better not contact my wife.
I don't think so. Now, of course, if she's gonna watch this, he was the perfect interviewee. This is
absolutely. We were professional the whole time.
He was totally professional. He was the perfect interviewee.
Hey, you know what? I mean, I'm doing really well. I haven't used any. I don't think I've used any profanity.
Oh, that's good.
I don't think I have.
That's good. All right. Guys, let's get some questions out there. Let's see. I know I could probably ask it.
I'm not interesting enough. They don't want to ask me questions. Or they might think I'm just full of it.
When have you ever worked for what maintenance schools have you worked at and taught at?
The only maintenance school I ever taught at was PIA, Pittsburgh Institute of Aeronautics, at the main campus. In Pittsburgh at the Allegheny County Airport. That's the only one I ever worked for. I was sixth quarter for anybody that has ever gone there, which was advanced power plant, and we overhauled reciprocating engines. Of course, I mean we did the work on an actual engine, and it did have to run. So it was that was a lot of fun.
Yeah. I told you I know. Well, Kariah Whitener, who did our first interview on A&P, is going to the Hagerstown school, the Hagerstown facility. She's gotten her power plant. Let's see. I know the answer to this one, but I want you to say it. Have you ever laid into pilots who have done stupid things and tried to hide it?
No, never. I can tell you a story.
Go ahead.
Was sleeping in the jump seat of an airplane, which I'm allowed to do because I was not a required crew member. And somebody decided they would shine their bright flashlight and wake me up.
Ooh.
That's fine. I can joke. I can take it. But if you dish it out, you better be able to take it too. And well, our next leg just so happened to be a little bit over 14 and a half hours.
Oof.
And the autopilot mysteriously didn't work. However, you could launch without the autopilot working, without any restrictions or anything like that, according to our minimum equipment list that we had. So we got about just a little south of Pago. And I said, are we done playing childish games, gentlemen? And they all agreed. I said, cool. And I reached up and reset the circuit breakers.
Oh. That'll do it. Especially if they didn't figure out that it was a circuit breaker issue.
Oh, I knew they were collared, but I had it written up as deferred. I had it written up.
Ah.
Yeah. So no, they figured it out. They knew exactly what was going on. It's my responsibility to tell them there's problems with the airplane, and I did. Told them the autopilot wasn't working. Couldn't figure it out. But that guy in the back that makes all the money and pays our salary and everything wants to go. So here we go.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Bez asks, how much do plane tires cost compared to car tires?
Well, Fez, it's different because I know some car tires now go for upwards of $1,000. If you're looking at small, general aviation training aircraft, you can get them as cheap as $250 for a tire, but they go all the way up. The tires that we carried on our Global Express were at that time right around $2,500 for the tire. Now we sent them to a place and had them overhauled and everything like that, so it cost us a lot more. But I'm pretty sure the base price of the tire was like $2,400. So. Ooh. That didn't include alignment. It included mount and balance, but not the alignment.
Oh, okay.
We only do 3-wheel alignments in airplanes, not 4.
Yeah. He's impressed. Let's see. I'm not sure what he means here. When it comes to Preacher's seasonal migration, do you see a uptick in service requests during those times? I guess when they.
Yeah, I understand what he's saying, and that's a really good question. As far as like birds and stuff like that migrating, no. However, when the cicadas are around, they think a jet is like the mother cicada because they like freaking swarm around a running jet engine for some odd reason. And then they have it's a big vacuum cleaner. It goes they go in there and get chopped up and everything else. And then you get all sorts of little problems like outflow valves that have little wings stuck in them and things like that. And in little airplanes in the springtime, you can get different things. I've heard of people having bees nests in the fresh air intakes. The pitot tube that hangs out there that reads the airspeed and other things like that gets bugs and things like that in it. So not necessarily like, the birds are going to start flying south. You're going to be hitting a bunch of them, but like, the cicada events and things like that do. So that's a good question.
And like the birds and the tail cones.
Yeah.
Or bird nests in the tail cones.
Oh yes. I've dug so many birds nests out of airplanes it really isn't even funny anymore.
That's why you see airplanes with plugs in them all the time to keep those little critters out of the.
Or tape. You can use tape.
Tape?
Not really.
Oh, okay.
But I've seen it.
Oh, okay.
Oh, Raymond, if I told you half the things I've seen, you wouldn't believe me.
You've told me a lot, and I would believe you.
Okay, well, that's good.
All right. Any other questions out there? All right. I'm waiting. Let's see. So, okay. Well, Eric, this was great. This was a great time. I enjoyed it. I hope you did. And it's very Norda says tape, Bondo, Staples.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I've seen all sorts of stuff.
Tape. Are you a fan of red green and how duct tape is The universal solution for any problem? No, it's speed tape.
It's speed tape. Yeah, we don't call it duct tape. That's speed tape. So I typically don't tape things together. I have to get home before, but typically I'm not a fan of tape, especially duct tape, but I always have a roll. But yeah, red green doesn't really work good on airplane. I'm a certified YouTube airplane mechanic, though.
A certified a
Certified YouTube airplane mechanic. Yes, there are stickers you can get that say that, and I have one.
What is the oddest repair you've ever seen?
The oddest repair I've ever seen. I think the oddest repair I ever saw was on on an airplane that we were rebuilding, and it had wooden spars, which is like the backbone of the wing. If that breaks, well, you're gonna see something that you might not want to see. And it had been broken before, and we're pretty sure they used wood glue, and then they had aluminum plates on the top and the bottom that were glued to it as well. But there was no bolts, zip ties, nothing. And then one of the oddest repairs I ever did to get home was on an aircraft that had split a hydraulic line.
Oh.
And it was a hairline crack, and it was just a fine mist of hydraulic fluid. I took it off, took heat shrink, put on it, sucked it down tight, and then wrapped the stuff that you can wrap wires in to protect it.
Mm-hmm.
Put it back on, and it held. It held
Nice.
3.5 hours to get home.
Nice.
Yep.
And I'm sure you follow this philosophy, sort of, maybe. If it moves, duct tape it. If it doesn't move, WD-40 it.
That's right. That's right. So I've used lubrication a lot of times to get stuff moving.
Okay. Well, Eric, this was a great time. I think we've learned a lot about it. I've had pilots on, and it's always good to get the different perspectives with the people that fix the things that go fly. And it's great to talk to you. And I think we got some good insights about aircraft maintenance.
Cool. I appreciate you having me. I'm glad it finally worked out.
Yeah.
So these darn things don't have a schedule. They if they break, they want to be fixed.
Yes, that's true.
Somebody wants to be fixed. I don't know if it's me, but
all right. So now we will go to show notes.
It's time for show notes. It's time for show notes. Yeah, with Mr. Reagan and Sandra too. It's time for show notes. We're bringing it on. It's time for show notes. You've all been warned. It's time for show notes.
I like the show notes girl. Can we see her again?
Oh, okay. Yeah, you will. Yeah, you will. Okay. That has one more question. Any famous clients that you've helped with repairs?
I helped Harrison Ford get a helicopter into a hangar one time with a thunderstorm rolling up on us. And then I've been around a lot of people that are famous, but I'm not gonna talk about that. I'm sorry.
Okay. All right. So now it's show notes. We've got coming up Next week, it will be a to be determined. Will probably be a review or some sort or a Surfside chat. On the 2nd, we will have our usual Just Cause, the usual shenanigans. There will be a surprise reveal on the 2nd. You guys gotta wait. On the 13th is our annual Veterans Day interview. I am working on a couple people to come on and honor Veterans Day with. 20th, not sure yet. The Just Causes will be on Saturdays as usual. And that leads to the 27th, the evening before Thanksgiving, Slaughter in the Water. As you know, we have this will be an epic battle of the Titans. Let's see. I won't do in the interest of time, I will not do the teaser, but you'll see that on Just Cause. Let's see, where is it? Okay. Yes, I don't see. It disappeared on me. Well, Slaughter on the Water, the epic battle of Titans, will be on November 27th. That is what's coming up in November. And let's see. We got Snort says, take care of the human dolphin doggo, Dalek, Ferret Eagle, Hedgehog, and Tarsier, a wholly owned subsidiary of King Dolphin TV. Got to show the can with the producer for Eric Judy as well as your show notes girl. Well, we will. He'll see the show notes girl again, and I think that is it for show notes. Here we go.
It's time for show notes. It's time for show notes. Yeah, with Mr. Raven and Sandra too. It's time for show notes. We're bringing it on. It's time for show notes. You've all been warned. It's time for show notes.
There you go.
It's not long enough.
Well, if you want to, let's see. This one, I do have the picture of, let me see, I can bring it up here. Yeah. I'm going to regret this. Oh, great. Whew. It froze on me. Good.
I see that. I think you just hit the pause button. Nothing froze on you.
No, it just froze up on me. All right. Well, you could still hear me. And I think everybody else. Oh, yeah. My computer just froze. See, I'll show you sometime. All right. Let me see. Nope, my computer just blew up. Please stand by. Gumby has decided to attack me. So I will be right back. Hun, get on there. My computer. Yeah.
What?
My
They
computer.
can hear you.
Yep. Oh boy.
Well, hello there, Eric.
Hey, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Wonderful.
How's that little?
She's wonderful. She is absolutely wonderful. So I spent most of the afternoon with her.
They're all going, ooh, because I actually showed up. I never show up on the stream. Shows
Never.
that you're special.
They broke the mold when they made me.
That's true. Yeah, I know that sometimes when I go in and there's been a problem, I don't even pretend to know what's wrong with the airplane. I'm not that smart. I just say, this is the noise it's making, and this is when it makes the noise. Fix it. And they usually just look at me oddly.
I'm not that smart either. I just keep hitting stuff until something works.
Like on a Bugs Bunny cartoon, just keeps
Absolutely.
banging and banging.
Yep. I
Yeah.
just hit things. Or I do effective troubleshooting. I just throw parts at it.
Well, that works too.
Yeah, just throw parts at it. Something will
Yeah.
fix it.
Yeah, well, there's a certain 172 I think you're familiar with that has more electrical problems than it has any business having.
Possibly.
It's back in the shop again because the battery wasn't wanting to start the engine.
I know. I'm going to blame that on training. Someone will blame that on training. Somebody left it on too long. But yes, I ordered a battery today, as a matter of fact.
Oh, good. Do you think we're going to have a plane for Saturday, or do you think that Raymond's going to have to drive the old jalopy?
I think he's going to have to drive the old jalopy because I don't think it's going to be in until Tuesday.
Did you hear that, sweetie?
Yeah. Well, actually, I saw the email. Okay. I am back. Man.
I'm hiding myself.
Aww. Oh, cool airplane. See you later. Good to see you. Cool
Good to
airplane.
see you too.
Yeah. It decided to crimp up on me.
I'll be damned. That
Yeah.
happened.
Yep, it did. Let's see. So you want to see the picture? No, yeah. I'll show you in the back room because it blew up on me. It blew up on me before. But again, thank you very much for being here, and I am so glad that you are able to come, and we're definitely going to have you back if you're willing to.
Absolutely. Love to do it.
All right. I like the Maxes. When I'm pretending to be a mechanic and the pilot starts elaborating the symptoms, I say, "Why am I talking to you? You probably broke the thing." Well,
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the
All
first,
right.
That's the first thing I ask. What'd you break?
Yep. All right. Let's see. So let me thank everybody who's been here. We had before we go, I'm going to ask the King Dolphin TV famous question. What is your favorite cookie?
Mine?
Yeah.
Chocolate chip.
All right.
Chocolate chip. Just had one
Chocolate.
today, as a matter of fact.
Oh, okay. Was it a airport chocolate chip or just a regular?
It's just a regular chocolate chip cookie from the original cookie company in the mall.
Oh, yum.
Oh yeah,
Yum.
only one though. Only one.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So I'd like to thank everybody who is here, and thank you for all the wonderful questions. We had again. This is a Sandra Feliciano production, and as you can see, she came on just as the system decided to crump on me. So thank you, honey. I love you. We had one of my weekend co-hosts, John Fez Rendell, here. Thank you very much for being here. We had the first one in, the last one out, again with amazing questions, Legatus Legionii. We had Dalek 451. Thank you for being here, and thank you for your concern, and we're doing good. We had Tim, FKHC 2005. We had Max Redstone. Thank you very much, sir. And of course, we had the hardest working bear in the internet, Snorterpoopus Cuber. Thank you all for being here. And I hope you had a great time. Love your questions. We had some great questions this evening. So, and again, Eric, thank you very much for being here. We'll talk to you in the back room, so don't go away.
Okay.
And everybody, we will see you on Saturday on Just Cause, the place where anything can happen and usually does, and we have fun doing it. And don't forget, there will be a reveal on Just Cause this coming weekend. So you guys take care, be safe, and have a great week, and let's continue to make some waves.